and welcome to Edison TV. My name is Michelle Livings, and today I am delighted to be joined by CEO of Basilea Pharmaceutica, David Veitch. Hello, David.
Hello, Michelle.
Thanks so much for coming along. Before we dive into some questions, would you be able to just give us a little bit of background about the company, first of all, for those that don't know?
Yeah, Basilea Pharmaceutica is listed on the SIX Swiss Stock Exchange. It's been around since 2000 when it was spun out of Roche as an anti-infective company. And over the course of the last 22 years, it's been focused on anti-infectives and oncology.
Right. And your involvement as CEO is more recent.
2018,
Yeah.
I became CEO. I was previous to that the Chief Commercial Officer of the company.
Fantastic. All right, thank you for that. So let's get on then with the questions. First of all, Basilea has announced a strategic refocusing on anti-infectives. Can you explain this new strategy and also the intention behind it?
Yeah, so actually, for a number of years now, we've been progressing, as I said a moment ago, an anti-infective and an oncology sort of part of the company, making good progress in both areas.
Yeah.
But when we look at the sort of share price development over the last years, it hasn't been reflected in the share price. We think that the progress we've made. So we had a strategic review, and we decided that as a result of that review, we should refocus on our core background strength, which was anti-infectives. Right. And so actually what we did in February this year was announce this refocus strategy on anti-infectives. And what we would look to do with our oncology assets, both the preclinical and clinical, is actually look to transact them either as a portfolio or individual assets. And so we would retain a future value, but the company itself will be focused on anti-infectives.
Great. I wanted to actually talk about Basilea's marketed antifungal medicine, Cresemba, because this has seen approvals recently in China. How big an opportunity do you see the Chinese market for Cresemba? And also, what do you see as other key drivers for global sales?
Yeah, so the Chinese market is, we believe, about 20% of the global potential. So it's a very important market. As you said, we got an approval for one of the formulations in December last year, and we're expecting the other formulation to be approved very shortly. So then, in order to access this market that's worth 20% of the global potential, that's really important. The other sort of major sort of leverage points going forward are the Japanese approval, which we're hoping for around later this year. And then secondly, just the ongoing growth, which is double-digit in global terms around the world in all the markets we've launched in. I mean, even the most mature market, the US, is still growing double digits. So there's a lot of potential for this product to come.
Yeah, that's quite exciting. So could you explain then areas of unmet needs that you've identified sort of in the anti-infective space, and also how you plan to address them?
Yeah, so the anti-infective space, our definition of anti-infectives is antibacterials and antifungals. And in the antibacterials, you hear a lot about AMR, antimicrobial resistance, and this is not going away. And so we actually believe that in the future, there will also be, as well as the need for new antibiotics, there'll be future incentives launched around the world to incentivize companies like us who are investing in this space. And then the antifungal area, it's just a case of the morbidity and the mortality, even with current treatments, is still very high. So there's clearly an unmet medical need for new antifungals.
Yeah. Finally, David, from an investment point of view, what events should investors be looking out for in the next 12 months?
Yeah, probably the key event is the mid-year results of our top-line results of our Staphylococcus aureus bacteremia study with our antibiotic ceftobiprole, and if that's positive in the phase 3 study, then we would be full steam ahead for the NDA submission for the US market, which represents about 80 to 90% of the global potential for the drug. So actually that's key. And then secondly, as I mentioned earlier, the Cresemba launches in China and Japan. And then importantly, the transactions that I alluded to earlier in terms of the implementation of our new strategy, the transactions in oncology, both for the preclinical and the clinical stage assets, that's an important result, hopefully, during the course of 2022. And then finally, the underlying health of the business will be reflected and shown, I think, in our half-year results. So in the August timeframe, that's another important sort of lookout point for the year.
So lots to come, really.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It's always lovely to meet people actually in person. So thank you, David. And also thank you for watching.
Thank you.